Massive drones and anti-ship missiles closing on a carrier group at the same time, launched from multiple directions, too many to track and too cheap to justify shooting down with $1 million interceptor each. The radar lights up, the crew scrambles, and the math just doesn't work. So what do you do when the threat is faster, more numerous, and cheaper than anything your weapons were designed to stop? The Navy's answer isn't more guns. It's physics. Can a beam of directed energy actually defend the most expensive warship ever built? That's what we're here to find out. The threat that keeps naval planners up at night isn't a single hypersonic missile. It's 50 cheap ones arriving at the same time. Iran, China, and a growing list of non-state actors have all moved toward the same doctrine: saturation attack. Don't try to outrun or outmaneuver a carrier's defenses. Just flood them. Send more incoming targets than the ship has interceptors. It doesn't take precision. It takes volume. And volume is something any nation with a factory and a grievance can produce. The hardware defending carriers right now is genuinely impressive, but it was built for a different world. The failing CIWS fires 4,500 rounds per minute and can shred an incoming missile at close range. CRAM adds a layer of heat-seeking interceptors on top of that. Both systems work, and both have real ceilings. Phalanx carries a finite ammunition load. Once it's empty, and reloading at sea under fire is not a realistic option. CRAM interceptors cost somewhere between $400,000 and over $1 million per shot, depending on the variant. Now imagine firing one at every drone in a 50-unit swarm, where each drone costs the adversary around $20,000 to build. You don't need to win that exchange. You just need to force it often enough, and the carrier bleeds its magazine dry without a single warhead ever connecting. That's the math problem. And it's why the Ford-class carriers, the USS Gerald R. Ford and the USS John F. Kennedy, the two most advanced carriers ever put to sea, became the test beds for something the Navy has been quietly developing for years. The Ford class wasn't chosen for this role by accident. These ships run on nuclear power, which means they generate electricity at a scale that conventionally powered vessels simply can't match. That electrical capacity matters enormously for what comes next, but we'll get to that in a moment. What you need to understand first is what's at stake. A single Ford-class carrier represents roughly $13 billion in hardware. Add the air wing, the escorts, the logistics ships, and the 5,000 personnel aboard the carrier alone, and you're looking at the most concentrated expression of military power on the planet. Losing one wouldn't just be a tactical setback. It would be the worst naval disaster the United States has suffered since World War II. So the Navy isn't waiting to find out if the old playbook still works. It's already testing something entirely different, and it doesn't fire a single bullet. The system the Navy has already put on destroyers is called Helios. High-energy laser with integrated optical dazzler and surveillance. It's been deployed on Arleigh Burke-class destroyers and has demonstrated the ability to track, dazzle, and burn through small aerial targets. But what's being developed for the Ford class is a different order of magnitude entirely, and the gap between those two things is worth understanding clearly. A solid-state laser works by converting electrical power directly into a focused beam of infrared light. No propellant, no explosive charge, no projectile leaving a barrel. The beam travels at the speed of light, which means there's no lead time, no trajectory calculation the way you'd need for a bullet or a rocket. You point it, and it's already there. The per-shot cost, once the system is built and running, is measured in dollars, not hundreds of thousands of them. Early naval laser systems operated in the 15 to 30 kilowatt range. At that power level, you can blind an optical sensor, burn through the thin skin of a small drone, or damage a small boat's outboard motor. Useful, but limited. The threat outgrew those numbers fast. What the Navy is now pushing toward, and what the Ford-class integration program is specifically designed to accommodate, is output in the 300 to 500 kilowatt range. That's a different weapon. At that power level, you're not just inconveniencing a drone, you're destroying it in seconds. You can damage the airframe of a larger missile, overheat its seeker head, or detonate its warhead before it reaches the ship. Getting there requires solving two problems that have nothing to do with optics. The first is power. Running a laser at 300 kilowatts continuously pulls enormous amounts of electricity, and a destroyer's power plant simply wasn't built with that kind of headroom. A Ford-class carrier running two A-1B nuclear reactors produces far more electrical output than any surface combatant in the fleet. That surplus capacity is the reason these carriers were selected as the test platform. It isn't incidental, it's the whole premise. The second problem is heat. A high-energy laser generates enormous thermal load inside the weapon system itself, and that heat has to go somewhere, or the components fail. Thermal management engineering, essentially building a cooling architecture that can keep pace with sustained firing, has been one of the harder engineering challenges in the entire directed energy program. Progress has been made, but managing heat at the 300-plus kilowatt level in a maritime environment, aboard a ship that is already running hot from its own systems, is an ongoing constraint. Then there's the atmosphere. Ocean air carries humidity, sea spray, and particulate matter that scatter laser energy across the beam path, reducing its effective power at range. The solution being developed alongside the weapon itself is adaptive optics, a system that continuously measures atmospheric distortion and adjusts the beam's shape in real time to compensate. Think of it like auto-correcting for turbulence faster than you can perceive it happening. Put all of that together: nuclear power feeding a 300 kilowatt laser, adaptive optics compensating for atmospheric scatter, heat management keeping the system online, and the kill chain looks like this. A threat appears, the system locks, and the engagement completes in milliseconds. No reload, no expenditure. The magazine effectively doesn't empty. That's what changes the math from the phalanx calculation we talked about earlier, and it's why the laser component alone would already be a major development. But lasers are only half the story, because the plasma component is where things get genuinely strange. Let's clear something up first, because the phrase plasma shield gets thrown around online in ways that are almost entirely wrong. This isn't just a force field. There's no invisible wall of energy surrounding the ship like something out of a science fiction film. What researchers are actually working with is a real physics-confirmed phenomenon where a sufficiently powerful laser beam superheats the air along its path so intensely that the air itself ionizes, meaning the electrons strip away from their atoms and the gas transitions into a force state of matter. That's plasma, not fictional, not theoretical. It happens in nature every time lightning strikes, and it can be induced deliberately with the right energy output. The question the Navy and its contractors are trying to answer is whether that induced plasma state can be weaponized as a defensive tool. And the research coming out of programs like Athena and related directed energy work suggests the answer is yes, with conditions. Here's what the physics actually allows. When a high-energy laser creates a plasma region in the air between the ship and an incoming threat, that region has electromagnetic properties that differ sharply from normal air. Guidance electronics, the sensors and seekers that a missile or drone relies on to stay on course, operate by reading electromagnetic signals, whether radar returns, infrared signatures, or GPS. A plasma layer between the seeker and its target introduces interference that those systems weren't designed to handle. In some scenarios, the disruption is enough to send the weapon off course before the laser ever physically contacts the airframe. In others, the thermal spike destabilizes the warhead's fuse mechanism and triggers early detonation at a safe distance from the ship. That's a different kill mechanism than burning through a missile's skin. It means the laser doesn't necessarily need a sustained dwell time on the target. The plasma effect can act faster and at greater range than direct thermal damage alone. Boeing and Lockheed Martin both hold research contracts tied to this area of plasma-based area denial, and the Navy's Surface Warfare Directorate has publicly acknowledged directed energy area effects as part of its long-range defense architecture. The language in those disclosures is cautious, as it always is with emerging systems, but the direction is clear. The honest limitations matter here, though, because this technology deserves accuracy more than it deserves hype. Plasma effects are strongly range-dependent. The denser and more coherent the plasma region, the closer it has to be generated to the target to have useful effect. Weather plays a real role too. High humidity, rain, and the kind of sea state conditions a carrier actually operates in can all reduce the effective range and stability of the plasma field. These aren't deal breakers, but they are constraints that mean plasma-based deflection functions as one layer in a system, not a standalone solution. Sustaining a beam powerful enough to generate and hold a plasma field in open air also demands something most warships simply don't have: continuous megawatt-class electrical output. That requirement ties directly back to why Ford-class carriers are at the center of this program. Two nuclear reactors generating power around the clock, without the fuel constraints that would limit a conventionally powered vessel, gives the carrier the electrical foundation to actually run these systems at combat tempo without drawing down reserves needed for flight operations or propulsion. And the United States isn't doing this in a vacuum. China's Type 003 carrier program, their most advanced flat top, is proceeding alongside a directed energy research effort that Chinese state media has discussed openly. Their scientists are publishing in the same physics journals. The plasma and high-energy laser work happening on both sides of the Pacific is running in parallel, and neither side is unaware of what the other is doing. This is an arms race in a domain most people haven't started watching yet. So where does all this actually stand right now? The Navy's FY 2024 and FY 2025 budget requests both contain specific line items for carrier-based directed energy integration. This isn't a research paper or a concept study collecting dust in a Pentagon drawer. It's funded. Contracts are active, hardware is being built, and test schedules are running. That distinction matters because a lot of defense technology lives permanently in the promising but theoretical category. This one crossed out of it. The program anchoring the laser side of the development is called the Solid-State Laser Technology Maturation Effort, and its stated goal is fielding a system at 300 kilowatts or above on a surface combatant by the late 2020s. The Ford-class carriers are the proving ground, but the intent is to migrate the architecture across the fleet once the integration problems are solved at scale. What gets proven on a nuclear-powered carrier eventually gets adapted, sometimes in reduced form, for the destroyers and cruisers operating around it. The urgency behind that timeline didn't come purely from internal Navy planning. In 2023, the Pentagon launched the Replicator Initiative, a push to field thousands of autonomous systems rapidly in response to the drone threat peer adversaries now present. What Replicator implicitly acknowledged is that drone swarms are no longer a future problem. They're a current one. Directed energy solutions became a higher priority specifically because kinetic responses to mass drone attacks are logistically unsustainable. You can't build interceptors faster than an adversary can manufacture cheap drones, and the cost exchange always favors the attacker under that model. What the Navy is building toward isn't a single emitter mounted somewhere on a flight deck. The operational concept is a networked array, multiple directed energy emitters distributed across the carrier strike group, each covering different threat sectors, all coordinated through AI-assisted targeting software that can prioritize and sequence engagements faster than any human fire control team. The carrier doesn't fight alone. Its escorts carry their own systems. The network as a whole presents a layered, overlapping defensive perimeter where lasers handle the close-in drone and missile swarm threat, while longer-range kinetic interceptors stay in reserve for ballistic and hypersonic threats that directed energy can't yet reliably defeat at distance. Neither layer replaces the other. That's the point. The goal is to stop spending evolved Sea Sparrow missiles on targets that cost less than a used car and redirect that kinetic inventory toward threats that genuinely require it. The geopolitical implications of getting this right run deeper than any single procurement decision. In a Taiwan Strait confrontation or a standoff in the Strait of Hormuz, a carrier strike group that can absorb a swarm attack without depleting its missile magazine doesn't just survive the opening exchange, it stays in the fight. Right now, a sustained saturation attack forces a commander to choose between expending irreplaceable interceptors and pulling back out of range. A directed energy network removes that choice, and with it, removes one of the primary levers adversaries are counting on to neutralize carrier power projection without a direct fleet engagement. That's the strategic shift. Not more firepower, a different kind of endurance. The honest tension sitting underneath all of this is timing. The technology is real, the funding is confirmed, but adversary counter-development is running on a parallel track, and the window between successfully tested and fully fielded across the fleet is measured in years. History is consistent on one thing. That window is exactly where the most dangerous miscalculations happen. The Ford-class carrier is not just adding a new weapon, it's becoming a fundamentally different kind of warship, one that defends itself with electricity instead of ammunition, and whose magazine effectively never runs dry. That changes what a carrier can do, and who has to think twice before challenging one. Radar operators are tracking something they can't explain. It's moving faster than any aircraft on record, but there's no heat signature behind it, no sonic boom, nothing on infrared. The object isn't leaving a trail because it probably isn't burning anything. What if the propulsion system doesn't use fuel at all? That's not a rhetorical question. DARPA has been funding research into plasma-based propulsion for years, quietly through program offices that don't make press releases. And if the patents filed by major defense contractors describe what they appear to describe, air combat doesn't just improve, it becomes an entirely different problem. Every jet engine flying today is built around the same basic trade-off. You burn fuel, you generate thrust, and the combustion process produces an enormous amount of heat. That heat is the problem. Modern infrared sensors can detect a fighter's exhaust plume from over 100 miles away, and that detection window is what gets aircraft killed. Engineers have spent decades trying to manage this. Cooler burning fuels, shielded exhaust nozzles, angled nozzles that deflect heat downward. But they're all working around the same fundamental physics. Combustion produces heat, and heat radiates. So the real question isn't how to hide the signature better, it's whether you can build propulsion that doesn't produce one in the first place. That's where plasma comes in, and it's worth understanding what plasma actually is before getting into the propulsion side of it. Most people know 3 states of matter from school: solid, liquid, gas. Plasma is the 4th. When you heat a gas to an extreme enough temperature or expose it to a strong enough electromagnetic field, the electrons strip away from the atoms. What you're left with is an ionized gas, a cloud of charged particles that behaves unlike any conventional fluid. It conducts electricity, and critically, it responds to magnetic fields. You can push it, shape it, accelerate it, all without any physical contact. The propulsion concept built around this is called magnetohydrodynamic propulsion, or MHD. Instead of burning fuel to spin a turbine to push air, MHD uses powerful magnetic fields to directly accelerate ionized air. No moving parts, no combustion chamber, no exhaust plume in the conventional sense. The energy input is electromagnetic, and the thrust output comes from the controlled movement of charged particles. This isn't theoretical. The U.S. Navy funded MHD research through the 1960s and 1970s specifically for submarine propulsion. The appeal was obvious. A submarine with no propeller produces almost no acoustic signature, which is the underwater equivalent of no heat signature. The research produced working prototypes. The concept was proven in controlled testing. MHD drives for submarines were real enough that they showed up in Tom Clancy's fiction because defense insiders knew they existed. The technical problem with applying MHD to aircraft was always the power requirement. Ionizing air at the scale needed for flight speed propulsion demands enormous amounts of electricity, far more than any airborne generator could reasonably produce, at least with 1970s technology. So the research sat, partially classified, waiting on materials science and power generation to catch up. Here's what's worth sitting with. The Navy didn't abandon MHD because it didn't work. They shelved the large-scale development because the support technology wasn't ready. That's a completely different reason, and it matters, because the support technology has been advancing. High-temperature superconductors, compact electromagnetic systems, metamaterials that channel and concentrate energy with almost no loss. All of it has moved forward, mostly inside classified programs that don't publish results. The physics was never the obstacle. The question is whether the engineering has quietly caught up to it, somewhere the public isn't looking. The engineering question is one thing. The paper trail is another, and this is where it gets harder to dismiss. Boeing filed a patent in 2016 describing a system that generates a plasma field around an aircraft's hull using microwave emitters and lasers. The stated purpose: create a localized shockwave-absorbing layer that essentially wraps the aircraft in superheated ionized air, reducing drag so dramatically that conventional aerodynamic limits stop applying. Northrop Grumman has filed similar patents describing electromagnetic field generation for lift and propulsion in craft with no traditional control surfaces. These aren't fringe inventors or startup dreamers. These are the two largest defense contractors on the planet, and their patent attorneys don't file applications without engineers signing off on the underlying physics. A patent isn't proof that something has been built, but it is proof that serious money was spent developing the concept to the point of legal protection. Companies don't patent things they've abandoned. Now layer in the program history. DARPA's Falcon program, which ran publicly through the mid-2000s, was officially about hypersonic strike vehicles. The Black Swift demonstrator came out of that effort, a vehicle designed to reach Mach 6 using combined cycle propulsion. Black Swift was canceled in 2008, officially because of budget constraints. Defense analysts who track these things noted something unusual at the time. The cancellation came right as certain classified budget lines inside the Pentagon's black budget started growing. Not shrinking, growing. The Pentagon's classified budget, what insiders call the black budget, runs somewhere between $50 and $80 billion annually, depending on how you count supplemental appropriations. Some of that money goes to acknowledged programs in their classified development phases, but a portion funds what are formally called unacknowledged special access programs. Projects so sensitive that their existence isn't confirmed even in classified congressional briefings below a specific clearance threshold. Defense budget analysts, particularly at organizations like the Project on Government Oversight, have repeatedly flagged multi-billion-dollar line items with no corresponding public program description, no contractor named, and no stated mission objective. That pattern appeared before the F-117 went public. It appeared before the B-2. Both aircraft had been flying operationally for years before anyone outside the program knew they existed. The same pattern is visible now. Specific unattributed line items, consistent year-over-year funding growth, and procurement categories that don't map to any acknowledged aircraft program. Then there's the TR-3B question, and it's worth addressing directly rather than around the edges. Since the late 1980s, there have been persistent reports of large, triangular, near-silent aircraft operating over U.S. airspace and occasionally over Europe. The Air Force has never acknowledged the TR-3B exists. The sightings are real, documented by credible observers, including military personnel. And the described flight characteristics align almost precisely with what a plasma propulsion platform would produce. No engine noise because there's no turbine. Triangular geometry because a triangle maximizes the hull surface area available for plasma field generation. No visible exhaust because nothing is burning. That's not confirmation, but it's not coincidence either, and the distinction matters. When a reported flight behavior matches an engineering concept that major defense contractors are simultaneously patenting, and that same concept connects to classified funding anomalies with a documented history of preceding major aircraft reveals, you're not dealing with random noise. You're dealing with a pattern that demands a better explanation than the ones officially on offer. The evidence doesn't prove a plasma warplane exists. What it does is make the alternative, that all of this is unconnected, increasingly difficult to defend. The paper trail is abstract. The witness accounts are not. In November 2004, Navy pilots from the USS Nimitz carrier strike group encountered an object off the coast of San Diego that their radar had been tracking for 2 weeks. When Commander David Fravor reached the location visually, what he described wasn't a weather balloon or a misidentified aircraft. The object was roughly 40 feet long, had no wings, no tail, no visible propulsion system, and no exhaust of any kind. It accelerated from a hover to beyond visual range in under a second. Fravor, a 20-year combat veteran with thousands of flight hours, said it moved like nothing he'd ever seen or trained against. 5 years later, pilots from the USS Theodore Roosevelt documented similar encounters off the East Coast repeatedly over a period of months in 2014 and 2015. The objects showed up on multiple sensor systems simultaneously: radar, infrared, electro-optical. The infrared footage is what stands out. There's no heat plume. On a conventional aircraft, the exhaust trail lights up an infrared camera like a torch. These objects registered almost nothing. Whatever was moving them wasn't producing heat the way combustion does. Now run those descriptions against what MHD propulsion actually produces. No combustion means no heat plume, which is exactly what the infrared footage shows. Electromagnetic field manipulation means the craft doesn't need wings or control surfaces to generate lift or change direction, which matches the geometry witnesses described. Instantaneous acceleration without a visible thrust vector matches a propulsion system that acts on the surrounding air mass rather than pushing against it with exhaust. The mechanical fit isn't perfect. It never is with limited data, but the fit is far closer than any conventional explanation anyone has publicly offered. Here's where the materials science problem enters, because the engineering gap between MHD working in a lab and MHD powering a combat aircraft is enormous. Containing and directing the electromagnetic fields required at flight scale demands materials that can handle extreme energy densities without degrading. In public research, those materials don't exist yet. High-temperature superconductors currently require cooling systems that make them impractical for airborne use. Metamaterials that could channel and focus electromagnetic energy at the required intensity are still largely theoretical in open literature. DARPA's research portfolio tells a different story. The agency has been funding high-temperature superconductor development since the early 2000s, and its work on metamaterials goes back further. Crucially, neither program publishes detailed results. Progress milestones, material specifications, performance benchmarks, all of it disappears into classification. That's not unusual for DARPA, but it means the public baseline for what's achievable in these materials is probably years behind what actually exists in a classified lab somewhere. The facilities that could be manufacturing these materials are a short list. You need extraordinary clean room conditions, specialized electromagnetic fabrication equipment, and a security perimeter that keeps the work invisible. That combination exists at a handful of locations, all of them within reasonable range of known classified flight test corridors in Nevada and the Southwest. The witnesses saw something. The materials to build it are likely further along than anyone admits, and the geography fits. Start with the engineering constraints and work forward, because the physics of plasma propulsion doesn't leave much room for guesswork when it comes to what the aircraft has to look like. Air intakes are gone. A plasma propulsion system doesn't feed a turbine, so there's nothing to intake air for. The hull has to be smooth. Any protrusion disrupts the plasma field that's doing the work, so you lose the pylons, the fins, the external weapon stations, all of it. And the geometry has to maximize surface area for field generation, which pushes the design toward a blended wing or a triangle. Not because it looks dramatic, but because those shapes give you the most hull coverage for the electromagnetic emitters that are running the whole system. That description matches the RQ-180, the classified reconnaissance aircraft that Aviation Week reported on in 2013 based on contractor sources. Northrop Grumman built it, the Air Force operates it, and almost nothing about its propulsion has been publicly confirmed. Sightings over the Palmdale area and the Pacific Test Ranges describe a large, smooth flying wing platform with no visible exhaust and no acoustic signature consistent with a turbofan. That could be an extremely well-shielded conventional engine, or it could be something else entirely. The tactical picture that falls out of all this is worth spelling out plainly. An aircraft with no heat signature can't be tracked by infrared missiles, which is how most modern air-to-air engagements end. No radar cross-section means ground-based and airborne radar can't build a targeting solution. No aerodynamic surfaces means the traditional physics of pursuit, calculating where a maneuvering aircraft will be in 2 seconds, stops working because the aircraft isn't constrained by lift and drag in the way every engagement model assumes. You're not just building a faster or stealthier version of what exists. You're removing the assumptions that every opposing weapon system was designed around. The skeptic's case is legitimate and worth taking seriously. Power generation at the scale MHD requires is genuinely unsolved in the open literature. DARPA has killed programs before. Black Swift didn't fly. The A-160 Hummingbird went through years of development problems, and plenty of ambitious concepts have ended without producing an operational aircraft. Funding anomalies have explanations that don't involve exotic propulsion. Patents don't equal production. All of that is true. But DARPA's institutional model is specifically built around solving hard problems in classified conditions and handing off operational systems before the public knows the problem was even being worked. Stealth wasn't announced until it was flying combat missions. Precision-guided munitions were operational before anyone outside the program understood the guidance technology. Armed drones were conducting strikes before their existence was publicly acknowledged. The agency's track record isn't one of announcing capability while it's still theoretical. It's one of delivering capability and then eventually allowing the declassification. The honest position here isn't certainty either way. It's that the direction is confirmed by the patents, the funding is real by the budget documents, and the physics works by the underlying science. Whether a plasma propulsion combat aircraft is flying operational missions right now, or is 3 years from its first full-scale test, the gap between those two possibilities is smaller than the gap between where public research sits and where classified development almost certainly is. The distance between what gets officially acknowledged and what's physically possible has never been this wide, and DARPA operates exactly inside that distance. So the next time a Navy pilot files a report about something that accelerates without thrust and turns without surfaces, the explanation probably isn't coming from another solar system. It's coming from a program office in Arlington with a budget no one's allowed to read. China has missiles capable of sinking every American aircraft carrier in under 20 minutes. The Pentagon has confirmed it, and for years the United States Navy had no credible defense. Now America is testing a secret energy shield, a high-energy laser system designed to track and destroy missiles at the speed of light. Could this futuristic technology finally neutralize China's deadliest weapons before they strike? Join us as we uncover the details of the energy shield that the U.S. Navy is presently testing to neutralize China's threat. For 80 years, the aircraft carrier has been the ultimate symbol of American military power. No other nation has built them in the same numbers, operated them at the same scale, or projected force through them as effectively as the United States. At any given moment, the United States Navy operates 10 of these floating air bases, each one a city at sea, capable of launching dozens of combat aircraft over any ocean on the planet. They are the backbone of American foreign policy, the instrument through which Washington signals resolve, enforces no-fly zones, and responds to crises from the Persian Gulf to the South China Sea. And for decades, they were essentially untouchable. That is no longer true. China has spent 20 years building a specific category of weapon designed for one purpose: killing American aircraft carriers. And according to the Pentagon's own assessment, they have succeeded in creating an arsenal that represents a genuine existential threat to the most powerful naval platforms ever constructed. The threat has a name: hypersonic missiles, and China has more of them than anyone else on Earth. China now fields what the Pentagon itself describes as the world's leading hypersonic missile arsenal, a capability specifically tailored to target high-value naval assets, such as aircraft carriers. That is not the assessment of a think tank or a journalist. That is the American military acknowledging in its own official documents that a foreign adversary has built a weapon system specifically designed to destroy its most important platforms, and that adversary currently leads the world in that technology. To understand why this matters so much, you need to understand what makes a hypersonic missile fundamentally different from anything the United States Navy has ever faced before. A conventional cruise missile flies at subsonic or low supersonic speeds. It follows a relatively predictable flight path. The Navy's existing defense systems, radar arrays, interceptor missiles, close-in weapons were designed and refined over decades to track, predict, and destroy exactly these kinds of threats. The United States is very good at shooting down cruise missiles. The Red Sea operations against Houthi attacks prove that repeatedly. A hypersonic missile is a different category of problem entirely. Hypersonic weapons fly at between 5 and 10 times the speed of sound, and their ability to change course mid-flight makes them extraordinarily difficult to shoot down. They can fly as low as conventional aircraft while maneuvering on their way to the target, challenging defensive systems in ways that existing threats do not. The combination of extreme speed and mid-course maneuverability means that traditional intercept calculations, the mathematical models that tell a missile where an incoming threat will be when the interceptor arrives, simply do not work. By the time a defense system predicts where a hypersonic missile is going, the missile has already changed direction. The flagship of China's hypersonic arsenal is the DF-17. The DF-17 is a medium-range hypersonic missile that can be armed with a hypersonic glide vehicle and reportedly reach speeds of Mach 10, 10 times the speed of sound, while striking targets from more than 1,500 miles away. At that speed, covering 1,500 miles takes roughly 18 minutes. That is the timeline within which American Carrier Strike Group commanders would have to detect, track, classify, and destroy an incoming threat that is actively maneuvering to defeat any intercept attempt. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has stated plainly that 15 hypersonic missiles could destroy all 10 American aircraft carriers within the first 20 minutes of a conflict with China. The man running the Pentagon, making this assessment openly in a public interview, is effectively saying that the central instrument of American naval power is vulnerable to a volley of missiles that China can fire from the Chinese mainland. A leaked Pentagon brief cited by the New York Times reported that China has amassed an arsenal of around 600 hypersonic missiles capable of traveling at 5 times the speed of sound, while the United States had not yet deployed a single one of its own. 600 to 0. That is the hypersonic gap that the United States military is currently trying to close under enormous time pressure, with no margin for procurement delays or program management failures. The question that naturally follows is, what is America doing about it? The answer the Navy has been pursuing for years and is now accelerating with renewed urgency involves firing back not with missiles, but with light. Laser weapons. Directed energy systems that fire concentrated beams of energy at the speed of light itself, 300 million meters per second, and can in theory intercept any object that is moving slower than that, which is everything, including hypersonic missiles flying at Mach 10. The concept is not new. The United States military has been experimenting with shipboard laser weapons since the 1980s, with limited results. The history of directed energy research in the American military is littered with programs that showed enormous promise in laboratory conditions and then encountered brutal reality when exposed to the ocean environment. Salt air, humidity, rolling seas, power generation limitations, atmospheric distortion, and fell apart. Senior Navy leaders have been openly critical about the pace of progress. One Navy admiral publicly stated he was embarrassed at the state of the service's directed energy weapon developments. Another declared that the Navy must deliver on the promise that this technology offers. But something has shifted. The pace of testing has accelerated, the urgency is undeniable, and real results are beginning to emerge. In August 2022, the Navy installed Helios, the high-energy laser with integrated optical dazzler and surveillance system, on the Arleigh Burke-class destroyer USS Preble. Developed by Lockheed Martin, the 60-kilowatt system integrates directly with the ship's Aegis radar and combat system. Helios is not a science project mounted on a test barge somewhere in a quiet harbor. It is a permanent installation on an operational warship, integrated into the same combat management system the ship uses to fight every other threat in its threat library. In a 2025 demonstration, the Preble used Helios to shoot down 4 drones in a single engagement. 4 separate aerial targets engaged and destroyed by a beam of concentrated light fired from a destroyer sailing at sea. That is a meaningful operational milestone, not a controlled laboratory test with ideal conditions. But shooting down drones is not the same as stopping a hypersonic missile, and the gap between those two tasks is not incremental. It is a chasm. The Navy estimates that roughly 300 kilowatts of laser output would be needed to defeat anti-ship cruise missiles, 5 times the power of the current Helios system. And defeating a true hypersonic missile would require something in the range of 1 megawatt. To put that in perspective, 1 megawatt is enough electricity to power approximately 800 average American homes simultaneously. Generating that much power, storing it, managing the heat it produces, and directing it through a beam control system accurate enough to track a Mach 10 target, all on a ship rolling in open ocean, is one of the most demanding engineering challenges in the history of weapons development. This is the problem that Hellcat was created to solve. The high-energy laser counter anti-ship cruise missile program is specifically designed to expedite the development, experimentation, integration, and demonstration of critical technologies needed to defeat crossing anti-ship cruise missiles. Hellcat represents the Navy's recognition that Helios, for all its promise, is a first step and not a final answer. The program aims to produce and test a laser platform of over 300 kilowatts, a substantial leap from anything currently installed on an operational warship. In June of 2025, the Navy awarded Coherent Aerospace and Defense nearly $30 million to develop a new laser project called Songbo, tasked with advancing pulsed fiber lasers, wavefront control, and beam combination to realize a system targeting 400 kilowatts, built by integrating multiple 50-kilowatt modules. The modular approach is significant. Rather than trying to build one enormous laser generator, engineers are stacking smaller units whose beams are then combined into a single, more powerful output. It is the directed energy equivalent of combining many small streams into one powerful river. The Trump administration's December 2025 proposal for a new class of guided missile battleships called for 2 lasers on each ship, each with a beam power of between 300 and 600 kilowatts, power levels that could be capable of countering at least some categories of anti-ship cruise missiles. The fact that laser weapons are being designed into new ship classes from the keel up, rather than bolted on as afterthoughts to existing designs, signals that the Navy has made a fundamental decision. Directed energy is not an experiment anymore. It is a core element of future naval architecture. There is also a related concept that has received less public attention, but deserves to be mentioned here because it points toward the longer-term future of ship defense. Beyond lasers, researchers have explored the possibility of using ionized plasma, a superheated gas that carries electrical charge, to create fields that can disrupt the guidance systems and structural integrity of incoming threats. The United States Army has explored the concept of using dynamic pulse detonation technology to create plasma-based effects that could interfere with incoming threats, a concept that is reminiscent of science fiction, but is grounded in real physics research. The idea is that a pulse of superheated plasma could create a zone of disruption around a ship, interfering with the sensors, electronics, and structural materials of incoming missiles before a direct energy hit is even required. This research remains in its early stage, but it represents the frontier of where directed energy defense is headed over the coming decades. The stakes of getting this right are extraordinarily high. An aircraft carrier represents not just $13 billion in hardware. It represents the 5,000 sailors aboard, the 80 aircraft in its hangar, and the decades of training and operational experience embedded in every crew member. Losing a carrier in combat would be the most significant American military loss since the Second World War. It would reshape the global balance of power, shatter the perception of American invincibility, and hand China a psychological and strategic victory that no amount of subsequent military action could fully reverse. The USS Gerald R. Ford, the most advanced carrier ever built, is expected to serve well into the 2050s. But given the proliferation of weapons like the DF-17, it may be more vulnerable right now than any comparable platform has been in the last 80 years. That is the uncomfortable reality at the heart of this story. The most expensive and capable warship ever built is simultaneously the most threatened it has ever been. The laser program is America's bet that technology can outrun the threat. Whether that bet pays off in time is the central question of American naval security for the next decade. The testing results are promising. The engineering challenges are formidable, the timeline is urgent, and the adversary is not standing still. China has deployed a powerful weapon into the skies, and even the United States' most formidable ships are not safe. Recently, the growing threats from unmanned aerial vehicles have increased at an alarming rate, and now the United States has finally done something about it. To defend itself against the threats that these aircraft pose, the U.S. has equipped its ships with the deadliest weapons in the world. What are the capabilities of these weapons? Are they formidable enough to protect these aircraft carriers from the growing aerial threats? Join us as we explore the features of some of the deadliest weapons that U.S. Navy ships have been equipped with. The United States Navy is renowned for being the largest and most powerful naval force in the world. With over 90,000 active personnel and around 484 warships, the U.S. Navy plays a crucial role in America's military power and national defense. A vital part of the USN's strength is its fleet of 11 nuclear-powered aircraft carriers, including the advanced Gerald R. Ford class and the Nimitz class. These carriers function as mobile air bases, offering exceptional versatility and combat capabilities to deploy air forces anywhere in the world. Each carrier is supported by a strike group of destroyers, cruisers, and submarines, forming a strong maritime force. The United States Navy's surface fleet includes approximately 70 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers and 22 Ticonderoga-class cruisers, both equipped with the Aegis combat system. This advanced system provides excellent air defense, anti-submarine warfare, and ballistic missile defense with sophisticated radar and missile technology. Additionally, the littoral combat ships add flexibility and speed, especially in coastal regions. Another important part of the U.S. Navy is its submarine fleet, which includes both fast-attack submarines and ballistic missile submarines. The Virginia-class SSNs are designed for stealth, reconnaissance, and striking capabilities, while the Ohio-class SSBNs play a crucial role in the U.S. nuclear deterrent strategy. Recently, these warships have been under serious threats from advanced technology like drones and other stealth unmanned aircraft. On October 4, the USS Gerald R. Ford, the newest United States aircraft carrier, set sail for its first deployment amid increasing tensions in the Pacific and uncertainty about the future role of such large ships in warfare. Standing over 9 stories tall and weighing 97,000 tons, 32,000 tons more than the largest Second World War battleships, the Ford is impressive in size. However, it is also fast, powered by advanced A-1B nuclear reactors that give it about 300 megawatts of power, making it nearly 3 times more powerful than current supercarriers. Despite its strength, new anti-ship missiles from China, capable of speeds above Mach 5, pose a significant threat to the Ford and the entire Navy fleet in the Pacific. These missiles could potentially destroy the most advanced ships, similar to how Japan used new attack planes during the Second World War to sink powerful US and British battleships. To battle these new threats, the Navy is employing modern long-range weapons, including universal ship installations, railguns, and lasers, which may change future warfare. Let's explore some of these technologies that would defend these expensive and important ships against aerial threats. Let's start with a special type of gun, the OTO Malera 76. This 76mm gun, also called the OTO 76/62 gun mount, is a naval autocannon made by the Italian company OTO Malera. This gun is small enough to fit on smaller warships. It has a fast firing rate and can use different types of ammunition, making it effective for close-range defense against missiles, aircraft, surface targets, and ground support. The ammo includes armor-piercing, incendiary, and guided rounds designed to target moving anti-ship missiles. It can also be hidden in a stealthy dome. One of the key features of the OTO Malera 76mm gun is its ability to perform multiple roles, including short-range anti-missile defense, anti-aircraft operations, and ground support. The gun's high rate of fire, combined with a diverse range of available ammunition, enhances its effectiveness in various combat situations. The cooling system of this gun utilizes seawater, while fresh water is used for flushing. For its electrical power supply, the gun operates on a main circuit of 4-voltage, 3-phase, and 60 Hz, along with a servo and synchro network operating at 115 voltage, 1-phase, and 400 Hz. This electrical configuration ensures that the gun operates efficiently under various conditions. The OTO Malera 76mm gun has several notable variants, each designed to meet specific operational requirements. The original compact variant features a circular dome and has a firing rate of 85 rounds per minute. In the early 1980s, the super rapid version was introduced, which includes a diagonal dome and a significantly faster firing rate of 120 rounds per minute, achieved through an advanced feed system. This enhanced rate of fire makes the super rapid variant particularly effective in high-pressure combat situations. The Strail system is another significant improvement to the OTO Melara 76mm gun. The Italian Navy favors this variant due to its enhanced capabilities in anti-missile defense, particularly when equipped with dart ammunition, which allows it to counter several subsonic missiles at ranges of up to 8,000 meters. This medium-caliber gun is also effective against surface targets, showcasing its versatility on the battlefield. Another innovative development is the 76/62 Sovraponte, a new compact and lightweight mount for the 76/62 gun. This system is approximately 30 to 40% lighter than the standard Super Rapid and can be installed without penetrating the deck below. It houses 76 ready-to-fire rounds and is available for sale with or without the Strail system. The Sovraponte mount was first installed on the Theon de Revel class patrol vessel of the Italian Navy, positioned above the helicopter hangar, emphasizing its compact design. To enhance the gun's versatility, OTO Melara provides a wide range of specialized ammunition suitable for various combat roles. The available types include high-explosive standard rounds, which weigh 6.296 kilograms and have a range of 16 kilometers. Other ammunition types include the multi-role OTO munition, anti-missile projectiles with proximity fuses and tungsten balls for fragmentation, and semi-armor-piercing SAPOM rounds, which have a range of 16 kilometers. The guided dart projectile is designed for engaging maneuvering aerial and missile targets, while the Volcano guided projectile, weighing 5 kilograms, can reach a range of approximately 40 kilometers. The fire control systems of the OTO Melara 76mm gun have also seen significant advancements over the years. Early versions, such as the compact model, utilized the RTN-10X Orion radar. Later, in the early 1980s, the more advanced RTN-30X radar was introduced. This new system is capable of managing various calibers, including 40mm, 76mm, and 127mm, as well as missiles like the Sea Sparrow and Aspide. The RTN-30X system first enters service with the Italian Navy on the Garibaldi cruiser and has since been equipped on numerous destroyers and frigates. The OTO Melara 76mm gun is a versatile and widely adopted naval autocannon that has undergone significant evolution since its inception, with its various models, including the Compact, Super Rapid, and Sovraponte, along with an extensive range of ammunition and advanced fire control systems. The gun remains a crucial asset for modern naval forces. Its ability to perform multiple roles, combined with innovative design features, ensures that it will continue to play a vital role in naval operations for years to come. Another weapon is the Phalanx CIWS. It is an automatic gun system used to protect military ships from threats like aircraft, missiles, and small boats. It was designed by General Dynamics, now part of Raytheon. The system features a radar-guided 20mm Vulcan cannon that can swivel to target incoming threats. The Phalanx is used by the U.S. Navy and 15 other countries, being deployed on almost all U.S. surface combat ships except the Zumwalt-class destroyer and San Antonio-class amphibious transport dock. Other users include the British Royal Navy, the Royal Australian Navy, the Royal New Zealand Navy, the Royal Canadian Navy, and the U.S. Coast Guard. A land version called the LPWS, or Land Phalanx Weapon System, was created as part of the counter-rocket, artillery, and mortar system. It was used to defend against rocket, artillery, and mortar attacks during the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan in 2021. The U.S. Navy also uses the CRAM system, which combines the RIM-116 rolling airframe missile with sensors similar to those in the Phalanx. It was developed as a last line of defense against incoming threats, including anti-ship missiles, aircraft, and small boats. The first prototype was tested by the U.S. Navy on the destroyer leader USS King in 1973. After improvements were made for better performance and reliability, the Phalanx operational suitability model passed its tests on the destroyer USS Bigelow in 1977. This model met all maintenance and reliability standards, leading to its production approval in 1978. The first orders included 23 for the U.S. Navy and 14 for foreign military systems. The first fully equipped ship was the aircraft carrier USS Coral Sea in 1980, and the Navy began installing CIWS systems on non-combatant vessels in 1984. The Phalanx system is built around the 20mm M61 Vulcan rotary cannon, which the U.S. military has used on different aircraft since 1959. It uses a Ku-band fire control radar system to find and track targets. The system is mounted on a base that can quickly move up and down and side to side to follow incoming threats. This unit includes the gun, an automated fire control system, and other main parts, allowing it to automatically search for, detect, track, and engage targets using its computer-controlled radar. Its self-contained design makes it perfect for support ships, which usually don't have advanced targeting systems and have limited sensors. Failing CIW's units are sometimes nicknamed R2-D2 because of their round radar shape and automated function, resembling the droid from the Star Wars movies. In April 2017, Raytheon tested a new electric gun for the Phalanx, allowing it to fire at different rates to save ammunition. This new design replaces the pneumatic motor, compressor, and storage tanks, reducing the system's weight by 180 pounds while improving reliability and lowering operating costs. The United States has also invested in futuristic weapons to make these aircraft carriers more formidable. Some of these weapons include railguns and even laser weapons. A railgun, also known as a rail cannon, is a type of weapon that uses electromagnetic force to shoot projectiles at very high speeds. Unlike traditional weapons, the projectiles usually do not have explosives. Instead, they rely on their high kinetic energy to cause damage. A railgun has two parallel metal tracks and uses an electrical current to accelerate a sliding piece between them. This works similarly to how a homopolar motor operates. As of 2020, research has focused on using railguns as weapons because they can launch projectiles with much higher speeds compared to regular guns. Traditional guns can typically shoot projectiles at speeds up to about 2 kilometers per second, while railguns can easily reach speeds over 3 kilometers per second. This higher speed can give railgun projectiles a longer range and more destructive power, which depends on their kinetic energy when they hit a target. Since railguns do not need explosive propellants, the projectiles are also cheaper and safer to handle. However, railguns are still mostly in the research phase, despite many years of development. It is unclear if they will become practical military weapons soon. Any comparison between electromagnetic propulsion systems and traditional chemical propellants must consider factors like durability, availability, cost, and the complexity of the power supplies needed for electromagnetic launchers. How do these railguns work? A railgun has two parallel metal tracks, which is where it gets its name. One end of the rails connects to an electrical power supply, forming the back end of the gun. When a conductive projectile is placed between the rails, it completes the circuit. This allows electrons to flow from the power supply through one rail across the projectile and down the other rail back to the power supply. This flow of electricity makes the railgun act like an electromagnet, creating a magnetic field between the rails. According to the right-hand rule, the magnetic field moves around each rail. Since the electric current flows in opposite directions along the rails, the overall magnetic field between them pushes the projectile forward along the rails toward the front end of the gun. While there are forces trying to push the rails apart, they are held tightly in place so they do not move. If a current of 1 ampere flows through two long parallel wires 1 meter apart, the force on each wire will be 0.2 micronewtons. In general, the force increases with the square of the current and decreases with the distance between the wires. For railguns that shoot projectiles weighing a few kilograms and with a few meter-long barrel, very large currents are needed to reach speeds around 1,000 meters per second. A huge power supply capable of delivering around 1 million amperes of current can create a strong force that accelerates the projectile to speeds of several kilometers per second. However, these high speeds generate a lot of heat that can quickly wear out the rails. Railguns would need frequent rail replacements or the use of special heat-resistant materials. Experts agree that significant advances in material science are needed to create powerful railguns that can shoot more than a few times before needing new rails. The barrel must withstand this pressure for many rounds without breaking down. The power supply must provide large currents consistently and safely for a useful time. The most important measure of a power supply's effectiveness is how much energy it can deliver. As of December 2010, the highest energy used to fire a projectile from a railgun was 33 megajoules. Common power supplies for railguns include capacitors and compulsators, which charge slowly from other energy sources. The rails must handle strong forces during firing, which can push them apart from the projectile. If the gap between the rails and projectile increases, it can create arcs of electricity that damage the rail surfaces. This limited early railguns to only one shot at a time. The efficiency of a railgun is also limited by the inductance and resistance of the rails and power supply. Different rail shapes and designs are being tested, particularly by the U.S. Navy and other research institutions. The rails and projectiles need to be made of strong conductive materials that can withstand the stress of firing. Some research incorrectly suggested that the recoil force in railguns could be redirected, but careful analysis shows that recoil acts on the breech closure just like in traditional guns. The rails also repel each other due to a sideways force from the magnetic field, just like the projectile. They need to be securely mounted to avoid bending. Major improvements in material science are needed before rails can be made that allow railguns to fire more than a few full-power shots before needing replacement. Railguns generate a lot of heat from the electricity flowing through the rails and the friction when the projectile exits. This creates three main problems: melting of parts, safety risks for personnel, and detection by enemy forces due to the increased heat signature. Firing such a device requires materials that can handle extreme heat. If not, the rails and other equipment could melt or be damaged. Most railgun designs experience erosion of the rails with each shot. Projectiles may also suffer some wear, which can limit the railgun's lifespan significantly. While the railgun technology is under the research phase, the United States has made a lot of progress with its research on laser systems. Let's check out the features and capabilities of one. The United States Navy's High-Energy Laser Counter Anti-Ship Cruise, or HELCAP missile project, is getting closer to transitioning its developed technology into an operational system. Currently, one San Antonio-class amphibious transport ship is equipped with a 150-kilowatt Mark II Mod 0 laser weapon system demonstrator. Additionally, 8 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers have the optical Dazzler interdictor Navy, and one destroyer has the 60-kilowatt high-energy laser with integrated optical Dazzler and surveillance or Helios system. HELCAP is different from these systems, which are designed for counterintelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance by dazzling or destroying unmanned aerial systems. HELCAP specifically targets anti-ship cruise missiles in a crossing scenario, meaning it can defend against missiles aimed at nearby friendly ships. The U.S. Navy started HELCAP in 2019 after the ruggedized high-energy laser Phase 1. HELCAP aims to address technical issues that laser weapons face, like advanced beam control, effects of atmospheric turbulence, precision tracking in cluttered environments, and automatic target identification and aiming. The results from HELCAP and years of technology development will come together to create the laser weapon testbed central to HELCAP. This testbed will use a 300-plus kilowatt laser developed under the High Energy Laser Scaling Initiative, which has funded teams to deliver these powerful lasers. The laser will be combined with a prototype beam control system created by the Navy and integrated with a power and cooling system. The LWT will be tested at the White Sands Missile Range this year, and the initial test will focus on the system's beam control, tracking, and optics performance. Afterward, it will be tested against increasingly complex targets, starting with stationary ground targets, then moving targets, and eventually low-cost unmanned aerial targets in cruise missile surrogates. Once completed, this program will help improve future systems based on the Surface Navy Laser Weapon System Increment 1. Currently, there are no plans for the program to leave behind any assets or prototypes for ship integration. The United States created a weapon so strong, it doesn't need explosives, just raw speed and metal. The Navy's over $200 million railgun fires solid steel at over 8,000 feet per second, tearing through ships like paper from nearly 100 miles away. But after years of jaw-dropping tests, this terrifying machine vanished. Why did the Navy suddenly shut down its most powerful weapon? And what secret danger forced them to walk away? Join us as the United States tests its railgun worth millions. The metal beast sits motionless on the testing platform, its twin rails gleaming under the harsh lights of the Naval Surface Warfare Center. This is no ordinary weapon. The electromagnetic railgun represents 15 years of military engineering and $500 million in taxpayer money. Its sleek barrel stretches forward like a cannon from the future. But inside, pure science replaces gunpowder and explosives. When the countdown reaches 0, invisible forces unleash their fury. Electromagnetic fields, generated by massive electrical currents, grab hold of a 7-pound projectile and accelerate it down those parallel rails. The speed builds instantly, faster than any traditional bullet, faster than most missiles. In less than a second, the projectile screams out of the barrel at 8,270 feet per second. That's more than 5 times faster than a rifle bullet. The destructive mathematics is terrifying. This projectile carries no explosives, no warhead, and no chemical energy. It doesn't need them. At hypersonic speeds, kinetic energy becomes the weapon. The faster something moves, the more devastating its impact. When a 7-pound chunk of metal strikes a target at these velocities, it delivers the same destructive force as a small artillery shell packed with high explosives. Navy engineers pushed their creation even further during years of testing. Early demonstrations showcased an 8-megajoule system firing projectiles with incredible precision. But the real monster was still coming, a planned 64-megajoule weapon system designed specifically for warships. The power requirements were staggering. Each shot would demand the same electrical energy that powers several city blocks. The weapon's range capabilities redefine naval warfare possibilities. Traditional ship cannons reach maybe 15 miles on a good day. The railgun could strike targets 100 miles away with pinpoint accuracy. Enemy ships, coastal installations, even aircraft, nothing within that massive radius would be safe from this electromagnetic hammer. Testing footage reveals the weapon's raw power. Each firing sequence begins with a low hum as capacitors charge with millions of volts. Then comes the moment of release, a brilliant flash, a thunderous crack, and the projectile vanishes into the distance faster than the human eye can track. The ocean becomes the only safe backdrop for these demonstrations. No military installation dares test this weapon anywhere near populated areas. The implications terrified and excited military planners in equal measure. Ships equipped with railguns could engage multiple targets simultaneously without worrying about ammunition storage or explosive safety. Traditional naval guns require tons of volatile gunpowder stored deep within a ship's hull, a floating bomb waiting for enemy fire to ignite it. Railguns eliminate that vulnerability. But the electromagnetic monster demanded a price that even the world's most powerful navy couldn't pay. The electrical requirements pushed ship power systems beyond their limits. Each shot drained enough energy to power a small town. The rails themselves wore out after relatively few firings, requiring constant replacement and maintenance. Heat buildup threatened to melt the weapon's core components. By 2021, reality overtook ambition. The Navy quietly shifted funding away from railgun development, focusing instead on hypersonic missiles and laser weapons. The electromagnetic beast that once promised to revolutionize naval combat became a $500 million lesson in the gap between theoretical possibility and practical deployment. But while America's electromagnetic dreams crumbled, another science fiction weapon was quietly proving its deadly potential. Could invisible beams of light become the Navy's ultimate defense? The USS Portland cuts through Pacific waters on May 16, 2020, its crew preparing for a test that would make naval history. High above the ship, a small drone buzzes through the morning air, unaware it's about to become the target of humanity's first operational laser weapon system at sea. The laser weapon system demonstrator sits mounted on the ship's deck, like a sleek telescope pointed at the sky. Inside its housing, solid-state laser diodes generate an invisible beam of concentrated light energy. Unlike the railgun's brute force approach, this weapon kills with precision and silence. No projectiles, no explosions, no ammunition to reload, just pure energy traveling at the speed of light. The targeting sequence begins as radar operators lock onto the drone's position. Computer systems calculate flight path, speed, and distance in milliseconds. The laser weapon swivels smoothly, tracking its target with mechanical precision. Then comes the moment that changes everything. The invisible beam reaches out across the sky and touches the drone. What happens next defies traditional warfare expectations. The drone doesn't explode in a dramatic fireball. Instead, its electronic systems simply die. Critical components overheat and fail as the laser's energy overwhelms delicate circuits. Within seconds, the unmanned aircraft tumbles from the sky like a broken toy, its threat neutralized without a single conventional weapon fired. The successful test sends shockwaves through military circles worldwide. For decades, science fiction promised laser weapons that could defend ships from incoming threats. The Portland's demonstration proves that the future has arrived. The solid-state laser system can engage multiple targets simultaneously, switching between threats faster than any human gunner could track them. Navy officials released carefully worded statements about the test's success, but the implications speak louder than any press release. Enemy drones, small boats, and even incoming missiles now face a defensive system that operates at light speed. Traditional countermeasures become useless against a weapon that strikes instantly across vast distances. The laser's versatility extends far beyond anti-aircraft duties. Small attack boats, the kind used by terrorist organizations and rogue nations, become sitting ducks against this technology. The beam can disable engines, destroy navigation equipment, or blind optical sensors without sinking the vessel entirely. This precision offers military commanders options beyond total destruction. Power requirements for laser weapons remain significant, but manageable compared to railguns. Modern warships generate enough electricity to operate these systems continuously without draining other critical functions. Heat management poses challenges, but engineers have developed cooling systems that keep the lasers operational during extended engagements. The cost advantages become clear quickly. Each laser shot costs roughly $1 in electricity. Compare that to million-dollar interceptor missiles traditionally used against aerial threats. A single laser weapon system can engage hundreds of targets for the price of one conventional missile intercept. International observers watch these developments with growing concern. Laser weapons represent a fundamental shift in naval power projection. Nations without access to this technology face obsolete fleets overnight. The balance of power at sea tilts decisively toward countries possessing these light-speed weapons. Military strategists recognize the broader implications immediately. Swarm attacks using dozens of cheap drones could previously overwhelm ship defenses through sheer numbers. Laser weapons flip that equation completely. Now expensive attack platforms become vulnerable to relatively inexpensive defensive systems that never run out of ammunition. While laser beams defend ships with light-speed precision, the Navy's most devastating weapons still rely on raw explosive power. But what happens when these 1,000-pound instruments of destruction need reloading in the middle of a battle? Deep in the missile compartments of Navy destroyers, ordnance crews prepare weapons that can reach targets over 1,000 miles away. The Tomahawk land attack missile sits secured in its vertical launch cell, a sleek white cylinder packed with enough explosive power to level city blocks. These cruise missiles represent the ultimate expression of long-range naval striking power. Each Tomahawk carries a sophisticated guidance system that uses terrain contour matching to navigate across vast distances. The missile flies low, hugging the Earth's surface to avoid enemy radar detection. Its jet engine pushes the weapon at subsonic speeds for hours, following pre-programmed routes loaded before launch. The Tomahawk's 1,000-mile reach transforms naval warfare strategy completely. Enemy targets that once felt safe hundreds of miles inland now face destruction from ships positioned far beyond the horizon. Coastal installations, command bunkers, and critical infrastructure all fall within this weapon's deadly embrace. 7 different variants of the missile provide commanders with options ranging from conventional explosives to specialized warheads designed for specific target types. Beneath the surface, submarines carry their own arsenal of destruction. The Mark 54 torpedo weighs over 1,000 pounds and packs enough Torpex explosive to crack a submarine's hull like an eggshell. Torpex, short for torpedo explosive, delivers 50% more destructive power than traditional TNT. These underwater assassins can track enemy submarines across distances of 10,000 yards, their sonar guidance systems hunting prey through the ocean depths. Surface vessels launch these torpedoes from deck-mounted tubes, sending them racing through the water at speeds that give enemy submarines little time to react or escape. The Mark 54's advanced guidance system can distinguish between different types of underwater targets, ensuring it strikes the intended vessel rather than friendly forces operating in the same area. But the Navy's most dangerous moment comes not during combat, but during the deadly process of rearming these weapons at sea. In calm harbors, massive cranes lift 1,000-pound missiles into their launch cells with mechanical precision. At sea, however, the ocean's constant motion turns this routine operation into a life-threatening gamble. Waves roll beneath the ship's hull, causing the deck to pitch and sway unpredictably. Sailors must guide missiles weighing more than half a ton into narrow launch tubes while fighting against gravity and momentum. One wrong move, one moment of lost concentration, and crushing death becomes inevitable. The Navy removed shipboard cranes years ago after too many accidents proved the danger too great to accept. Today's tensions with Russia and China make at-sea rearming operations more likely than ever before. Extended deployments in contested waters mean ships may need to reload their weapons far from friendly ports. Ordnance crews train constantly for these scenarios, knowing their lives depend on perfect execution under impossible conditions. The process begins in darkness to avoid enemy observation. Sailors wearing safety harnesses work in teams, using hand signals to communicate over the noise of wind and waves. Each missile must be lifted by human strength and mechanical winches, guided carefully into position while the ship rolls beneath their feet. Modern missiles like the Norwegian Naval Strike Missile add another layer of complexity to rearming operations. These weapons can engage both ships and land targets at ranges up to 345 miles. But their sophisticated electronics make them extremely sensitive to shock and impact during handling. Even with these devastating long-range weapons loaded and ready, enemy missiles can still penetrate deep into battle zones. So what happens when hostile projectiles break through and target the ships themselves? Modern naval warfare operates on a simple principle. Multiple layers of defense must work together, or the ship dies. When enemy missiles streak toward American warships at supersonic speeds, commanders have only minutes to deploy countermeasures that mean the difference between survival and destruction. The first line of defense begins hundreds of miles from the target ship. Norwegian Naval Strike Missiles, mounted on Allied vessels, reach out across 345 miles of ocean to eliminate enemy launch platforms before they can fire. These precision weapons use advanced guidance systems to track moving targets across vast distances, striking enemy ships with devastating accuracy. Each naval strike missile carries enough explosive power to cripple or sink most enemy vessels with a single hit. The weapon's sophisticated targeting system can distinguish between different ship types, prioritizing high-value targets like aircraft carriers and command vessels. When multiple missiles launch simultaneously, they coordinate their attacks to overwhelm enemy defenses through synchronized strikes. As threats move closer, the second defensive layer activates. HIMARS rocket systems, traditionally designed for land-based artillery, have been adapted for ship-to-shore bombardment operations. These versatile launchers can fire multiple types of projectiles, from precision-guided rockets to long-range tactical missiles. The M142 high-mobility artillery rocket system proves its worth when enemy forces attempt amphibious landings or coastal bombardment. Each HIMARS pod contains 6 guided rockets or larger tactical missiles capable of striking targets with pinpoint accuracy. The system's rapid-fire capability allows ships to saturate enemy positions with devastating firepower in minutes. But the most critical moments come when enemy missiles penetrate these outer defenses and race toward their targets at speeds exceeding the sound barrier. Ship-based radar systems track incoming threats while computers calculate impact trajectories and engagement windows. Seconds count as the final layer of defense prepares to engage. The Phalanx close-in weapon system represents the last hope for survival. This automated defense system combines sophisticated radar tracking with a 6-barrel Gatling cannon capable of firing 4,500 rounds per minute. The weapon's nickname, Sea Whiz, comes from the distinctive buzzing sound its spinning barrels create during firing. Phalanx operates completely independently of human control once activated. Its radar dome rotates constantly, scanning for incoming threats within a 5-mile radius. When hostile missiles enter the engagement zone, the system locks on and unleashes a stream of 20mm tungsten projectiles designed to shred incoming warheads. The Gatling cannon's rate of fire creates a wall of metal in the sky. Each tungsten round travels fast enough to penetrate missile casings and detonate warheads safely away from the ship. The system can engage multiple targets simultaneously, switching between threats in milliseconds as its computer brain prioritizes the most dangerous incoming missiles. Engagement ranges remain deliberately short to avoid hitting friendly aircraft or missiles. The Phalanx fires only when enemy projectiles close to within 1 to 5 miles of the protected vessel. At these distances, the system has mere seconds to identify, track, and destroy threats before they impact. Modern anti-ship missiles travel at speeds that compress engagement windows to almost nothing. A missile flying at Mach 3 covers the Phalanx's maximum engagement range in less than 10 seconds. The automated system must detect, track, calculate, and fire without human intervention, relying entirely on computer processing power and mechanical precision. When ship-based defenses reach their limits, the ultimate response launches from carrier decks at supersonic speeds. But what happens when humanity's most advanced killing machines become too powerful for their creators to control? The flight deck of the U.S. Gerald R. Ford pulses with activity as red-suited ordnance crews prepare the deadliest aircraft ever deployed at sea. F-35 Lightning II fighters sit lined up like sleeping predators, their stealth profiles designed to slip past enemy radar undetected. These fifth-generation fighter jets represent the pinnacle of airborne warfare technology. Each F-35 costs over $100 million and carries sensors capable of detecting threats from hundreds of miles away. The aircraft's stealth coating absorbs radar waves, making it nearly invisible to enemy tracking systems until weapons release. Advanced computer systems process battlefield information faster than human pilots can comprehend, turning each jet into a flying supercomputer armed with precision munitions. The ordnance crews work with mechanical precision, their bright red uniforms making them instantly recognizable on the busy carrier deck. These specialists handle weapons that could level city blocks, loading guided bombs and air-to-air missiles onto aircraft with practiced efficiency. Each crew member trains for years to safely manage explosives, powerful enough to sink enemy warships or destroy hardened military installations. Modern naval aviation operates on a scale that dwarfs previous generations of warfare. A single F-35 can carry multiple precision-guided munitions, each capable of striking targets with surgical accuracy from distances exceeding 100 miles. The jet's internal weapons bay conceals these deadly payloads from enemy sensors, maintaining stealth characteristics throughout combat missions. The loading process reveals the raw, destructive potential these aircraft carry. Guided bombs weighing 2,000 pounds slide into internal weapon compartments, their guidance systems programmed to strike specific buildings or vehicles with pinpoint accuracy. Air-to-air missiles designed to destroy enemy fighters beyond visual range mount beneath the wings, their seekers calibrated to track heat signatures or radar emissions. Flight operations begin before dawn as pilots prepare for missions that could reshape global conflicts. The F-35's helmet-mounted display system projects targeting information directly onto the pilot's visor, allowing weapon engagement without traditional cockpit instruments. This integration of human and machine creates unprecedented combat effectiveness, but also raises disturbing questions about the direction of modern warfare. As these advanced weapons systems become more capable, military planners acknowledge growing concerns about their ultimate implications. The F-35 program alone costs over $400 billion, representing the most expensive weapon system in human history. Nations worldwide scramble to develop countermeasures for aircraft that outclass previous fighter generations by enormous margins. The rapid pace of military technological advancement accelerates each year. Weapons that seemed impossible a decade ago now deploy operationally across global conflict zones. Artificial intelligence integration promises even more dramatic capabilities, with autonomous systems beginning to make targeting decisions without human oversight. Naval aviation crews witness this evolution firsthand as new weapons arrive faster than training programs can adapt. Missiles with ranges exceeding 200 miles allow single aircraft to engage multiple targets simultaneously. Electronic warfare systems can disable entire enemy communication networks from hundreds of miles away. The destructive potential concentrated on modern carrier decks equals the firepower of entire armies from previous wars. This exponential growth in military capability creates paradoxical situations where even the operators express unease about their tools. Veteran pilots describe weapons so advanced that they fundamentally alter the nature of aerial combat. Young ordnance crews handle munitions powerful enough to trigger international incidents with single-targeting mistakes. The psychological impact extends beyond military personnel to civilian populations worldwide. Nations without access to fifth-generation fighters face obsolete air forces overnight. Regional power balances shift dramatically as advanced weapon systems concentrate in the hands of technological superpowers. International observers watch these developments with mounting anxiety, recognizing that weapons designed for deterrence may eventually prove too tempting to leave unused. The hope remains that such devastating capabilities will never face full operational deployment, but history suggests otherwise. The United States Navy unleashed a weapon that has made drug cartels tremble in the Pacific. Hidden for years under top-secret programs, the laser system Helios strikes faster than any missile and costs mere dollars per shot. Could this technology finally turn the tide against billion-dollar smuggling networks? And what shocking footage reveals the true power of lasers at sea? Will the cartels ever recover? Join us as we find out what happens when the United States Navy's laser weapons go to battle against the cartels. The USS Preble was cutting through the Pacific in October 2024, carrying a weapon no warship had ever tested in real-world conditions. Buried under layers of secrecy sat the Navy's new high-energy laser with integrated optical dazzler and surveillance system, known simply as Helios. This was not just another piece of military hardware. It was about to prove itself in action for the first time. Naval intelligence had been following strange activity near the California coast. Small, fast boats were moving drugs at night, and whenever Coast Guard cutters moved in, drones suddenly appeared overhead. These weren't amateurs trying their luck. Cartel groups had turned smuggling into coordinated military-style operations. Their speedboats could push past 60 miles an hour while carrying loads of cocaine worth more than $20 million. Meanwhile, the drones circling above provided real-time video to handlers on shore. The result was that the cartels always seemed one step ahead, making traditional interdictions nearly useless. That was about to change. With Helios on board, the Navy no longer had to waste $4.3 million Standard Missile-6 interceptors on drones that cost only a few $1,000s each. Instead, the laser system could fire at a cost of about $13 per shot. The weapon drew 120 kilowatts directly from the ship's own electrical system, removing the need to carry ammunition or resupply mid-mission. The way it works is both simple and extraordinary. Fiber optic cables generate separate beams of light that are combined into one powerful stream. This method, called spectral beam combining, produces temperatures hot enough to burn through a steel engine or set a drone's body ablaze in seconds. Unlike missiles or bullets that travel through the air, laser energy moves at the speed of light, 186,000 miles per second. Against cartel speedboats, this meant instant results. Many of the engines contained aluminum parts that vaporized under the heat. Crews often abandoned ship the moment they saw smoke rising from the stern. The drugs, however, stayed on board, making it easier for authorities to recover the evidence and cripple billion-dollar trafficking routes. The system tracks its targets through a mix of thermal sensors and radar. Unlike conventional weapons, it never runs out of ammunition. That made it particularly effective against the drone swarms the cartels had started using to overwhelm border patrols. What once required multiple ships and costly interceptors could now be handled in seconds by a single vessel equipped with Helios. There were limits, however. The weather along the Gulf Coast sometimes made things tricky. Heavy moisture in the air could scatter the beam, forcing operators to adjust power or wait for conditions to improve. Smugglers were quick to adapt, timing large-scale runs to coincide with storm seasons when laser weapons were less reliable. Even with these challenges, the Navy is already looking ahead. Plans are in motion to expand Helios to 300 kilowatts for use on future DDGX destroyers and next-generation frigates. Right now, only larger ships with advanced power systems can support the huge energy and cooling requirements. Smaller patrol boats, which would benefit greatly, simply don't have the infrastructure to carry the system yet. Helios is also linked to the Aegis combat system, giving ships layered defenses against both air and surface threats. Its optical dazzler offers another option. Instead of destroying a target, it can blind cameras and sensors. That allows intelligence officers to capture cartel data without losing the chance to analyze it. Military leaders see directed energy weapons like Helios as the next step in naval warfare. The cost advantage alone is significant, neutralizing cheap but numerous threats without draining budgets. More importantly, the system keeps crews safe and ensures the Navy maintains control over contested waters. The footage from that October mission remains under wraps, but the signal to cartels and other adversaries is unmistakable. While laser systems at sea reshaped how navies intercept smugglers and drones, the skies required an entirely different kind of breakthrough. The real question became, what happens when the world's most expensive bomber is paired with a weapon that costs less than a cup of coffee to fire? The Northrop Grumman B-2 Spirit, better known as the stealth bomber, carries a staggering price tag of about $2.1 billion per aircraft. Every mission burns through hundreds of thousands of dollars in fuel and support costs before the bomber even releases a single weapon. Conventional precision munitions only add to the expense. Air-to-ground missiles range anywhere from $100,000 to $4 million each. Military leaders started asking how long the United States could afford to fight drawn-out conflicts when opponents were fielding cheap drones and disposable hardware. That concern sparked a quiet but ambitious effort. Defense contractors began working laser technology into existing aircraft under classified upgrade programs. As part of its latest modernization, the B-2 Spirit received experimental laser pods designed to hit both ground targets and airborne threats. Instead of loading heavy racks of missiles or bombs, the system draws power directly from the plane's electrical generators. This cuts down payload weight and removes many of the limits imposed by conventional ordnance. The change in cost was staggering. Each laser shot came in at roughly $15. A bomber that once needed million-dollar cruise missiles to take out hardened targets could now destroy dozens for the cost of a single traditional warhead. For long campaigns against enemies with endless numbers but limited sophistication, the economics suddenly tilted sharply in America's favor. Adversaries, however, did not stand still. Many began deploying large swarms of cheap drones, launching them in the hundreds to overwhelm defenses. Conventional missile batteries quickly ran into a problem. Ammunition ran out fast, and each interceptor missile cost tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Analysts calculated that, over time, enemies could bleed American defenses dry simply by throwing waves of expendable machines into the fight. Laser weapons erase that problem. Because they rely only on power from the aircraft, they can fire continuously without running out of ammunition. As long as the generators keep producing electricity, the beam can keep firing. In practical terms, this gave bombers something close to unlimited ammunition. Nuclear-powered ships and advanced electrical grids provided even greater endurance for extended operations. The combination of the B-2's stealth and its new directed energy weapons created a tactical edge no adversary had faced before. Radar operators might detect the bright streak of a missile launch, but laser strikes left almost no trace, only a brief flash of heat when the target was hit. That meant bombers could destroy multiple threats without giving away their position to nearby defenses. There were limits, of course. Lasers are still shaped by the environment. Dust, moisture, and rain scatter the energy beam and reduce its reach. Mission planners now include detailed weather forecasts in their operational checklists. On clear nights with dry air, the system is at its most lethal. This shift has already begun to influence how money is spent. Budgets that once poured into producing mountains of ammunition are being redirected into developing higher output lasers and more powerful generators to sustain them. The focus is moving from stockpiling shells and missiles to investing in renewable energy systems that can keep weapons firing as long as the plane remains airborne. Bomber crews are also being retrained. Unlike traditional bombs, lasers don't explode on impact. They require steady, precise contact with a target for several seconds. Pilots now practice flying patterns that hold beams on moving objects, while operators train on power management to make sure the weapons never drain the system during intense engagements. The shift represents more than just new technology. Strategists see it as a change in how wars will be fought and financed. Victory in modern conflict depends not only on advanced weapons, but also on the ability to fight for months or years without exhausting resources. With the B-2 Spirit now carrying directed energy systems, the United States military has shown that it is preparing for that future, one where cost-effective firepower and technological superiority go hand in hand. In the Red Sea, Iranian-backed forces discovered a profitable new market when Mexican cartels offered cryptocurrency in exchange for modern weapons. The Houthis, already armed with drones, guided munitions, and electronic warfare systems, found eager buyers in organizations flush with cash from fentanyl sales. With billions generated annually through drug trafficking, cartels could afford battlefield-proven equipment that American law enforcement had never faced at home. The trade was managed through encrypted networks overseen by Iranian Revolutionary Guard officers in Yemen. Cartels supplied chemical precursors for explosives, while in return they received completed drones, radar jammers, and even anti-ship missiles. These deals bypassed black market arms dealers and avoided international sanctions designed to stop dangerous weapons from spreading to non-state actors. By early 2024, Houthis were attacking United States Navy destroyers in the Red Sea with kamikaze drones and cruise missiles. Within months, similar systems surfaced along the Texas border. Border Patrol agents began to encounter drone swarms flying in formation, copying the same tactics seen overseas against commercial shipping. What had once been fast boat smuggling runs evolved into militarized campaigns. Cartels now fielded drones with thermal cameras for surveillance, jammers to cut police radios, and even explosive-laden suicide drones used against rivals. This level of sophistication posed a crisis that ordinary policing could not contain. Iranian advisors deepened the threat by training cartel fighters directly. In camps hidden across Mexico and Central America, former Houthi drone operators taught everything from electronic warfare to coordinated strike tactics. These programs produced a new generation of cartel technicians who could build, maintain, and deploy weapons that rivaled those used in war zones. The network came to light when United States intelligence traced cryptocurrency movements, linking cartel accounts to Middle Eastern operators. Investigators matched payment schedules to known Houthi weapons purchases, proving that American drug demand was indirectly funding militants engaged in live combat with United States forces abroad. Soon, American police and border units began reporting weapons they had never seen outside of combat zones, night vision devices built for the battlefield, encrypted satellite communications, and armor-piercing ammunition. Local shootouts started to resemble clashes in foreign war zones, with gangs wielding tools meant to fight national militaries. Financial assessments confirmed the core problem. Cartels now commanded revenues greater than the defense budgets of many nations. With money on that scale, they could buy nearly any weapon on the global market. This economic power meant that criminal organizations inside the United States borders had the resources of a hostile state, turning a law enforcement challenge into a national security emergency. While Iranian weapons continued moving south through established channels, Mexican cartels were busy building something that caught intelligence agencies completely off guard. The pressing question became, what happens when criminal organizations begin producing military hardware faster than governments can track it? Using just the profits from a single fentanyl shipment valued at around $200 million, cartels set up underground aerospace manufacturing sites. These weren't makeshift workshops or hobbyist drone operations. They were full-scale facilities staffed with engineers who had once worked for legitimate defense contractors. Production lines inside disguised warehouses and abandoned mines were turning out as many as 50 advanced unmanned aerial vehicles every month, hidden from satellite detection by carefully built hangars and underground infrastructure. The Sinaloa cartel also managed to purchase 12 Turkish-made Bayraktar TB2 drones, aircraft already proven on battlefields in Ukraine and Syria. Instead of mounting explosives, cartel technicians reconfigured the payload bays to carry up to 500 pounds of compressed fentanyl. A single flight could deliver enough narcotics to saturate the East Coast drug market for half a year. The cartel's surveillance capacity transformed almost overnight. Persistent drone patrols equipped with thermal sensors and secure communication links provided constant updates on border patrol movements, high-altitude balloon locations, and law enforcement patrol patterns. Coordinated formations used artificial intelligence software originally designed for military swarm tactics. giving cartels real-time command over wide stretches of the border. Materials science also became part of their playbook. Factories began producing airframes out of carbon fiber and other advanced composites, giving drones more speed and endurance compared to aluminum-bodied aircraft. Many suppliers who sold the raw materials assumed they were dealing with ordinary commercial buyers and never questioned the unusual order volumes. Quality standards inside these underground factories rivaled those found in legitimate aerospace production lines. Cartel ingenuity extended into the seas as well. Narco submarines, once crude vessels for smuggling, evolved into autonomous carriers able to launch aerial drones while submerged. This created layered surveillance networks that existing interdiction methods could not detect, much less disrupt. Each submarine carried as many as 20 small drones, each with the endurance to remain airborne for more than 8 hours. Electronic warfare soon entered the picture. During clashes with rivals and law enforcement, cartels began deploying jammers and radar spoofing equipment. These systems disrupted police communications and even interfered with civilian aviation networks during smuggling runs. Much of the hardware and training came directly from Iranian sources, with instructors operating from bases in Central America. Autonomy made the threat even more dangerous. New targeting systems allowed drones to identify and pursue vehicles or people without any human operator in control. Facial recognition programs and vehicle matching algorithms enabled aircraft to track targets across state lines for days at a time. Police suddenly faced flying weapons that behaved more like hunter-killer machines than surveillance tools. By the early 2010s, the global drone market was worth an estimated $42 billion, and cartels were a part of it. Through front companies, they poured money into universities, startups, and artificial intelligence firms. Many researchers never realized their civilian projects were being adapted for cartel weapons programs. With mass production, costs plunged. Each combat-ready drone could be built for under $10,000. That meant a single drug shipment worth $50 million could finance as many as 5,000 drones. This direct link between narcotics profits and weapons development created exponential growth in cartel military strength. For the United States military, few options remained. Conventional airstrikes against these hidden factories risked heavy civilian casualties in densely populated areas. Strategic bombers armed with precision lasers emerged as the only realistic counter. Unlike explosive munitions, directed energy weapons could destroy underground entrances, manufacturing equipment, and command centers with surgical accuracy, carrying out strikes inside the United States territory without triggering the kind of devastation that traditional weapons would cause. Cartel breakthroughs in drone technology grabbed headlines, but America's investment in laser weapons gave the United States a clear advantage. Unlike missiles or conventional guns, directed energy systems have a major edge. They perform best in the very conditions that smugglers depend on. In many ways, nature itself has become an ally for the United States' defense. Could the very skies the cartels rely on actually be working against them? By 2023, military planners had figured out how to use weather and air conditions to know when lasers would work best. Some people pointed out possible limits, but in fact, these conditions usually gave the United States an advantage over the cartels. Clear skies, low humidity, and stable temperatures, the most common conditions along key border areas, allow lasers to strike targets with pinpoint accuracy, almost instantly. The deserts of Arizona and New Mexico tell a similar story. Cartels counted on heat to shield their drones, but the clear desert air helps lasers travel unimpeded. With minimal moisture or clouds, targets can be disabled long before they cross into United States territory. In this setting, dry landscapes became a natural ally for defense forces. Altitude works similarly. The higher a drone flies, the thinner the air becomes, meaning there's less to block or scatter the laser beam. This allows military lasers to stay tightly focused, deliver more energy to their target, and hit with devastating precision. Ironically, cartel drones trying to escape by flying higher only made them more visible to United States sensors, making it easier for operators to track, target, and disable them. The weather could pose a challenge. Fog, dust, heavy storms, or sudden rain showers can scatter light and slightly reduce a laser's effectiveness. Yet the United States systems are built to handle these obstacles. Satellites and radar provide real-time tracking, while conventional interceptors back up the lasers when nature tries to interfere. On most days, clear skies, dry air, and stable temperatures give American defenses a natural advantage. By the end of the day, the cartel's massive investments in drones rarely paid off. Instead of shielding them, the atmosphere often magnified the effectiveness of the United States' lasers. Sunlight, desert air, and thin, high-altitude conditions became silent allies, turning the sky into a vast, invisible extension of America's shield, a force the cartels could neither hide from nor fight. The cartels thought their drones and smuggling tricks gave them an advantage, but the United States Navy's laser weapon changed that. Quiet, accurate, and powerful, it turns the skies the cartels counted on into a place they can't control. After years of speculation, people around the world can finally see the United States Navy's laser weapon in action against cartel operations. For the first time, the power, speed, and precision of this technology are on full display. It shows how modern weapons can stop threats almost instantly without the need for traditional explosives or bullets. The lesson is clear. The future of fighting crime and warfare has arrived, and the balance of power has shifted in favor of those who can control the skies. Mexico's cartel war is evolving into something far more dangerous. It's a new kind of battlefield shaped by foreign mercenaries, stolen military tech, and weapons once seen only in global conflicts. But the United States isn't watching from the sidelines. Its answer? The Navy's mysterious F/A-XX fighter. Could this next-generation war machine be the key to ending the cartel's reign of terror? Or will it spark an even deadlier arms race? Join us as we explore the capabilities of the ultimate cartel fighter, the Navy's F/A-XX. For over 20 years, Mexico has been fighting a brutal war against drug cartels. However, what began as a crackdown on smugglers has now turned into something that looks more like an internal military conflict. The cartels have evolved in every aspect and are no longer just moving drugs across the US border. They are fighting for control of Mexican land, building armies, and turning entire regions into war zones. By 2024, cartels controlled nearly 1/3 of Mexico's territory. Towns, highways, and even police forces have fallen under their grip. The goal is no longer just profit, it's power. This shift has changed the nature of the fight. What used to be a battle against crime has become a struggle against well-armed, organized, and disciplined groups that act more like insurgent forces. Cartels now use drones, armored trucks, and even homemade bombs to destroy rivals and intimidate authorities. Videos online often show drone strikes on enemy camps or convoys outfitted with mounted machine guns. These groups have also recruited foreign fighters, especially from Colombia, bringing in military-trained men who know how to run combat operations. This growing militarization has forced both Mexico and the United States to rethink their strategies. For Mexico, the challenge is strengthening security forces that are often outgunned and infiltrated by corruption. For the United States, it's about cutting off the steady stream of American-made weapons that fuel cartel arsenals. Without serious change on both sides, the violence will keep spreading. In the early days, cartels operated like businesses. They focused on logistics, buying, selling, and moving drugs as efficiently as possible. The Guadalajara cartel in the 1980s was the prime example. They didn't care about ruling towns or running extortion rings. Their mission was simple: get the product to the US and make money. But then came a new generation of cartels that wanted more. Groups like Los Zetas changed the game. Formed by former Mexican Special Forces soldiers, the Zetas turned a criminal enterprise into organized warfare. They were after both profits and control. By ruling territories, they could tax every illegal activity within them: extortion, human trafficking, kidnapping, oil theft, and drug transit fees. This territorial mindset forced cartels to grow in size and discipline. Running an area meant recruiting more men, setting up communication networks, and managing resources like an army. The chain of command became more rigid. Leaders acted like generals. Gunmen became foot soldiers. And to hold territory, they needed serious firepower, armored vehicles, explosives, and military-grade rifles. Today's cartel battles often resemble military operations. Drones hover over enemy zones, dropping grenades or filming ambushes. convoys of trucks with steel armor, known as monstros, roll into rival strongholds. These clashes are broadcast on social media, showing the world how far cartel warfare has advanced. Experts have noted that cartels now share similar tactics and battlefield techniques. Their use of technology, such as fiber optic networks to control drones, has made them more coordinated and harder to stop. The cartels are learning from each other, blending military precision with criminal ruthlessness. What makes this war especially dangerous is that it's no longer about drugs alone. The cartels have built mini-states within Mexico, where their rules replace government law. For the civilians caught in the crossfire, daily life can feel like living in an occupied zone. The longer this continues, the more it threatens not just Mexico, but the region as a whole. If these militarized cartels keep gaining ground, they could reshape the balance of power across Latin America. The question now is simple but urgent. Can Mexico and its allies adapt fast enough to fight cartels that no longer act like criminals, but like armies? Behind the firepower of Mexico's cartels lies a constant and deadly supply line, one that flows straight from the United States. Experts call it the Iron River, a steady stream of smuggled weapons that has turned criminal groups into heavily armed militias. Each year, an estimated 200,000 to 500,000 guns cross the border illegally from the U.S. into Mexico, feeding the country's ongoing war. Most of these weapons come from well-known American manufacturers like Smith & Wesson and reach Mexico through legal distributors and gun shops that operate with weak oversight. Once purchased, they are easily moved south by traffickers who take advantage of poor tracking systems. These guns don't just end up in the hands of ordinary criminals. They equip cartel hitmen, enforcers, and even makeshift military units capable of taking on government forces. Mexico has pushed back through the courts. In 2021, the Mexican government sued a U.S. gun manufacturer and wholesaler, accusing them of turning a blind eye to illegal trafficking. The following year, they filed another lawsuit against 5 gun stores near the border, claiming their sales practices fueled cartel violence. While both cases face legal challenges, they mark a rare attempt to hold the U.S. firearms industry accountable for the chaos its products help unleash. The reason this problem persists is the sharp difference between the two countries' gun laws. The United States has more than 75,000 licensed gun dealers, a massive supply network that's nearly impossible to fully monitor. By contrast, Mexico has just one official gun store, located inside a military base in Mexico City. The rules there are strict, the paperwork endless, and the approval process slow. For traffickers, the choice is obvious. Buy guns easily in the U.S., then smuggle them across the border for profit. Once these weapons reach Mexico, they change the battlefield. Cartels showcase their firepower openly in videos and photos posted online, displays meant to intimidate rivals and challenge the state. Among their most prized weapons are .50 caliber anti-materiel rifles, like the Barrett M82 and M95, both made in the United States. These massive rifles can pierce armor, walls, and vehicles with ease, giving cartels a devastating edge in combat. For many cartels, these .50 caliber rifles act as their main anti-tank tools. Rocket-propelled grenades are still rare in Mexico, so a well-placed shot from one of these rifles can destroy an armored truck or force soldiers to retreat. In several cases, Mexican forces have found themselves pinned down by cartel gunmen firing from hidden positions with weapons capable of shredding their lightly protected vehicles. Even Mexico's National Guard and police units often travel in pickup trucks or light tactical vehicles, no match for the raw power of that caliber round. It's no surprise, then, that cartels flaunt these rifles in propaganda videos, mounting them on makeshift technicals and painting their logos across the barrels. The message is clear. They're not just mere gangs anymore. They've become full-blown armies. The Iron River has done more than arm criminals. It has shifted the balance of power in Mexico's long war. With United States guns in hand, cartels can stand toe-to-toe with federal troops, forcing the government to treat them as military threats rather than street gangs. Unless the flow of weapons slows, Mexico's fight against organized crime will remain a war it struggles to win. In recent years, the Jalisco New Generation Cartel and the United Cartels have begun recruiting Colombian mercenaries, especially in the violent state of Michoacán. These aren't just ordinary gunmen. Many of them have real battlefield experience, and some even fought in Ukraine against Russian forces. By bringing in veterans trained in modern warfare, the cartels are learning new tactics and adapting lessons from international conflicts. Techniques once used in the trenches of Europe are now appearing on Mexican soil. This includes coordinated assaults, better small unit movements, and, most dangerously, the strategic use of drones for attacks. Reports suggest that Mexico's intelligence agency and Ukraine's security services are investigating a troubling trend. Cartel operatives allegedly joining the Ukrainian Foreign Legion, not to fight the war, but to receive drone warfare training. These fighters are believed to return to Mexico with new skills and strategies, using drones not just for surveillance, but for dropping explosives on targets. This new wave of drone warfare has already hit Mexico's heartland. On June 9th, the CJNG launched an attack in Juarez, Michoacán, using drones to drop explosive devices directly onto the municipal building. The strike sent shockwaves across the country, signaling that the cartels had entered a new era of high-tech violence. Military experts warn that these types of drone assaults could soon become routine in cartel conflicts. But the cartel's arsenal doesn't stop there. They also rely on monstrous, heavily armored, homemade vehicles built from civilian trucks. These rolling fortresses are reinforced with steel plates, giving them both protection and intimidation power in urban combat. Packed with mounted weapons and manned by cartel soldiers, they often look more like military convoys than criminal transports. At the same time, cartels have ramped up their use of improvised explosive devices, a tactic borrowed from insurgent warfare in the Middle East. These crude but deadly bombs have caused serious damage across northern Mexico, leading to a sharp rise in civilian casualties. The situation grew so dangerous that the U.S. State Department issued a travel warning for Tamaulipas in January after several IED incidents, one of which claimed the life of an American citizen. For the average Mexican caught in the middle, the war now feels less like organized crime and more like open combat. Cartels are blending old-school brutality with modern technology, creating hybrid warfare that confuses and overwhelms local forces. Drone attacks, armored vehicles, and bomb traps have turned once quiet towns into battlegrounds. Still, despite the sophistication of these tactics, Mexican authorities believe the cartel's capabilities remain basic compared to fundamental military forces. Photos shared by the Mexican army show seized explosives and drones that, while dangerous, are homemade and relatively primitive. Many lack precision, and their explosive payloads are often unstable or weakly constructed. This gives both Mexico and the United States a small but crucial window to act. By strengthening intelligence sharing and improving border monitoring, they can disrupt the flow of foreign fighters and advanced weapon parts before the cartels refine their craft. But while joint efforts are being pushed on the ground, another battle for control is taking shape in the skies. The Tailhook Symposium of 2025 turned into one of the most talked about events in U.S. naval aviation history. Held from August 21st to 23rd, the annual gathering of Navy and Marine aviators became the stage for a dramatic comeback. The revival of the Navy's next-generation strike fighter program, known as the FA-XX. Just months earlier, the program had been all but scrapped. The Navy's fiscal year 2026 budget request had nearly wiped out funding FA-XX fighter, raising fears that the project would be shelved for good. But thanks to pressure from lawmakers and defense advocates, the program has been brought back to life, sparking new excitement in the aerospace community. This year's Tailhook convention was filled with surprises. For the first time, Northrop Grumman revealed concept images of its stealth fighter design for the Navy, a sleek, tailless aircraft built for both speed and survivability. Its futuristic look and radar-evading shape suggests that Northrop is aiming to return to the forefront of naval aviation, decades after building the legendary B-2 Spirit bomber. Not to be outdone, Boeing showcased its own concept, a carrier-based variant of its F-47 Next Generation Air Dominance, NGAD, which is already being developed for the U.S. Air Force. The design hints that Boeing wants to unify technologies between the two branches, cutting costs while maintaining cutting-edge performance. The company's prototype model featured a sharp, stealthy profile similar to the F-47, but modified for the harsh conditions of aircraft carrier operations. The Navy's sixth-generation fighter program has had a rocky journey. It was nearly abandoned after Boeing secured the Air Force's NGAD contract, which shifted much of the government's focus and funding toward the F-47 project. Under the Trump administration, the Navy's FAXX was placed on what many insiders called life support, as officials sought to streamline resources across the services. For years, speculation grew that the Navy might simply adapt the Air Force's jet rather than pursue a unique design. That debate still lingers, but the new showings at Tailhook 2025 prove that both Boeing and Northrop Grumman are still in the race and determined to keep the Navy's project alive. Before this budget shakeup, Lockheed Martin, the company behind the F-35 Lightning II, was reportedly dropped from the FAXX competition, narrowing the field to just two contenders. Both remaining manufacturers have already proven their carrier capabilities with earlier drone projects. Boeing's MQ-25 Stingray, a refueling drone that successfully launched and landed on carriers, and Northrop Grumman's X-47 Bravo, the first unmanned jet to autonomously take off and land on a moving ship. These achievements give both companies a major edge as the Navy pushes for a fighter that can operate alongside or eventually replace the F/A-18 Super Hornet and the carrier-based F-35 Charlie. The future jet is expected to combine stealth, extended range, and advanced networking features that allow it to control drones in flight, a key requirement for sixth-generation aircraft. With Congress restoring funds and the competition reignited, the race for the FAXX is back on. The Tailhook 2025 Symposium didn't just reveal aircraft concepts, it reignited a battle between America's top aerospace giants for the Navy's next era of air dominance. The FA-XX won't just be a stealthy fighter. Its real edge will be how it works with unmanned systems. Think of it less as a single jet and more as a command node that links pilots, drones, sensors, and weapons into one fighting machine. That shift is a hard break from old fighters built mainly around speed and guns. This jet is being designed for networked warfare, where unmanned aircraft act like loyal wingmen on missions. Designers are pushing the F/A-XX to outfight today's fighters in both air combat and strike missions. It aims to match or exceed the Super Hornet's role, but with much better range, speed, and killing power. Stealth will be deeper than current platforms, built so the jet survives in high-threat airspace while directing other assets. Sensor fusion will be central. The FA-XX should collect and integrate data from its own systems, satellites, other aircraft, and unmanned vehicles, providing pilots with a single, clear picture of the battlefield. A significant component will be cooperative combat aircraft, the so-called loyal wingman drones. These unmanned partners will fly loose or tight formations with manned jets, take on scouting and strike tasks, and even absorb enemy fire. FAXX systems will be able to task those drones, hand off targets, and coordinate strikes in real time. That means one pilot can control several effectors at once, spotting, jamming, or hitting targets without exposing the manned jet to direct danger. Hypersonic weapons are also on the table as potential armament, adding a new layer of strike speed and range that would complicate enemy defenses. The Navy is treating the FA-XX as a system of systems, not merely an airframe. That gives program managers room to fold in new tech faster, especially artificial intelligence and autonomy. AI could speed decision-making in high-pressure fights, run sensor fusion algorithms, and manage drone formations, so human crews can focus on strategy and critical choices. The goal is more brilliant, faster decision cycles that let a carrier strike group hit and fade before the enemy can react. Operational lessons already exist. Unmanned testing on carriers showed what works and what doesn't. Early programs demonstrated autonomous takeoffs, recoveries, and even mid-air refueling of manned jets by drones. Those trials taught DecOps integration with the carrier's Combat Information Center and how to handle unmanned traffic alongside manned aircraft. The practical takeaway: drones can handle the dull, dangerous, and persistent tasks, scouts, refuelers, and decoys, freeing manned fighters for the decisive moments. Refueling drones are a practical example. An unmanned tanker that reliably hoses fuel to fighters in a pattern reduces pilot fatigue and risk and keeps human crews focused on combat. That capability also extends mission range and recovery windows, allowing carriers to push air power farther without burning out pilots or aircraft. In a contested fight, every extra mile and minute counts. The real test for the FA-XX will be how well it fits into a carrier air wing packed with mixed crews, drones, and shipboard networks. Integration is as much about software, doctrine, and training as it is about the plane's shape. Sailors and aviators will need new procedures for the flight deck, new tactics for mixed teams, and stronger cyber defenses to keep control links secure. If the FA-XX delivers on its promise, carriers will get a force multiplier, a stealthy, long-range jet that directs swarms of drones, carries novel weapons, and makes faster, more intelligent choices in battle. That won't just replace older fighters. It will change how carrier strike groups fight, making them more distributed, more resilient, and harder to pin down. The big question left to answer: can industry and the Navy move fast enough to turn these concepts into a reliable combat system before adversaries close the gap? It would also be a very good asset in combating cartels, providing advanced surveillance, precision strike options, and unmanned support that could help disrupt cartel networks while minimizing risk to ground forces. Thanks for watching. Before you go, click the link on your screen to check out another video. See you there.